Imagine this time. There were no smartphones, no internet. There wasn't even GPS technology. The computers were so slow and old. In such times, AMERCA President was promising to send humans to the moon.
This decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Today, more than 50 years later, many people refuse to believe that humans had gone to the moon. People's claim that the entire Apollo 11 mission was a farce put up by America. That they filmed the scenes on Earth and lied to the world. How else do you explain the flag fluttering without air? What's the truth to it?
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man.
The 20th of April, 1961. President of America, John F. Kennedy wrote a letter to the Vice President. He asked the Vice President how they could beat the Soviet Union in the space race. He got the answer some days later because he soon realized that the next big step would be to send humans to the moon. On the 25th of May, 1961. In his famous speech, he promised the world that he would send humans to the moon before the end of the decade. Not only this, he also promised to get the humans back on Earth safely. Between 1963 to 1967, many unmanned tests were carried out. In February 1967, they planned the first manned tests. A test in which astronauts will go up to space in the rockets. This was the Apollo 1 mission. But during the tests on Earth, the cabin caught on fire, and the 3 astronauts died in the fire. NASA continued further testing. All these testing is for the preparation of Apollo 11 mission. After all these testings become successful, finally on the 16th of July, 1969, Apollo 11 mission was launched. 3 astronauts were a part of this mission: Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, Edwin Buzz Aldrin. The spacecraft of this Apollo 11 mission had 3 main parts: the command module, service module, and the lunar module. The first 2 are collectively known as CSM. They aim to detach the lunar module and have it land on the moon. And to return, the lunar module would have to be relaunched and attached to the CSM to enable the astronauts to return to Earth. To launch this spacecraft, a Saturn V rocket was to be used. The 19th of July, 1969. After traveling for almost 400,000 kilometers, the Apollo 11 spacecraft reached Moon's orbit. The command and service module was tasked to remain in the Moon's orbit. Only the lunar module was going to land on the Moon. The computer would automatically land the lunar module on Moon's surface. But at the height of 150 meters, Neil Armstrong took over the control. He noticed that the lunar module was going to land at a place where huge boulders were strewn about. The landing spot was changed then, and they decided on another spot 4 miles away from the predetermined landing spot for the actual landing. Neil Armstrong sent a radio message to Earth. The lunar module had successfully landed. Then Neil Armstrong put on his spacesuit, opened the door, and stepped on the moon. Buzz Aldrin followed him on the moon's surface. And for the next 2.5 hours, they collected samples of the moon's dust and rocks, took photographs, set up several scientific instruments as well. When they came back to lunar module, they realized that after the landing, when Neil Armstrong tried to open the door, so by mistake, he hit the top, and a piece of the lunar module broke off. Neither of them was aware of this because of the lack of air. The sound didn't travel. They didn't hear any sound. It was the ascent engine arming switch. Without this switch, their lunar module couldn't take off again, and they couldn't return to Earth. They informed the mission control about this damage and looked for a solution to resolve the situation. When Buzz Aldrin looked around, he noticed his ballpoint pen. He used that ballpoint pen to complete the circuit and to reignite the engine. At last the command module safely descended the Earth's atmosphere. The parachutes were deployed, and it landed in the ocean. All 3 astronauts were alive and safe. These astronauts were then evacuated by rescue ships from the ocean. It was truly a miracle that they could return alive. Apollo 11's moon landing was the top news in newspapers worldwide. The US President Kennedy's promise of having humans land on the moon before the end of the decade was made possible by NASA. What about the flag? The flag that Armstrong and Aldrin had taken to the moon was a specially designed flag. Normal flags have one long vertical rod, but there was a horizontal rod in this too, right at the top of the flag, so that the flag would always be extended out. Subscribe this channel for more interesting videos.